Good morning, Year 2, and welcome to Friday's reading session. Today, we're going to be looking at Cinderella, and we're going to be making some comparisons between Cinderella and the Rough-Faced Girl. So let's get straight on. So this is what we're going to be getting up to. It says, how do brilliant readers make links between the books they are reading and other books they have read? So we're going to do some sequencing first of the Rough-Faced Girl. Then we're going to read Cinderella. And then we're going to think about what things are the same and what things are different. So these are the bits and bobs you're going to need today. You're going to need a pencil, a piece of paper, and your brain, that reading brain, please. Okay, here is the story of the Rough-Faced Girl. I've just chosen some pictures. They're not in the right order, so you need to put them in the right order for me. So the first picture, this one in the top corner, hopefully you can see my mouse, is of the girl, the rough-faced girl, and the invisible being, and they are now together. They've got married. It's the end of the story, and she's been able to see him for the whole time in her life. And she went and told the sister that she could see him. So they've gone to get married. The next one along is where the rough-faced girl is telling the sister that she can see the invisible being and that his bow is made from a rainbow. This one is where the rough-faced girl is having a dip in the lake. She's having a bath, and all of her scars from the fire are falling off, and her hair is growing, and she's becoming very beautiful. This one down here is of those two horrible sisters, and they're walking towards the home of the invisible being and his sister, ready to say, yep, I can see him. The next one along is where the rough-faced girl has made her own clothes, and she is off to say, yep, I can see the invisible being and I would like to marry him. But she hasn't got any beautiful clothes. So she's just going to go straight in there, and everyone's laughing at her at the moment. I was just waving because Miss Close walked past. And then the last picture is where the girls are being nasty and they're making the rough-faced girl do all the fire. So I wonder what part of the story that's in. So I want you now to, on your whiteboards, you're going to need to make sure that you've got this numbered 1 to 6 for me. Okay. And it might be good if you just pause me, okay, put a number next to each picture and then put them in the right order for me. And you might need to do a little description so that you don't get confused, but do this on your whiteboard for me. So I want you to sequence the story, what comes first and what comes next. Okay, see you in a minute. Right, how did we get on? Hopefully you got it in the correct order. So this is the very start of the story where we meet our characters and we feel really sorry for the rough-faced girl because she's burnt from the fire and her sisters are always quite cruel and mean to her. But as the story goes on, we get to see that she is beautiful by the end. Okay, so this is where we're going to start making the links. So we're going to read the story of Cinderella. And it might be a little bit different from the one that you know, but hopefully it's quite similar. So, a long time ago, there was a beautiful girl named Cinderella. Cinderella had long red hair. Oh, I thought she had blonde hair. She had long red hair, green eyes, and freckles all over her nose. She was clever and kind, and she loved to tell jokes. But she was very unhappy. Her father and her mother had died, and Cinderella lived with her stepmother and her 2 stepsisters. Although they lived in a big house, they were actually quite poor. Their money was nearly gone. Cinderella's stepmother wanted one of her daughters to marry a rich man, so they would no longer be poor. But Cinderella's stepsisters were not as pretty as Cinderella, not as kind as Cinderella, and not as funny as Cinderella. The men who came to the house always immediately fell in love with Cinderella and never noticed the stepsisters. This frustrated the stepmother, so she ordered Cinderella to do all the chores. Sweep the hallway, demanded the stepmother. Clean the kitchen, cook our dinner, tidy our bedrooms, mop the bathroom, wipe the windows. Quick, hurry. The stepmother tried hard to make Cinderella miserable. The stepsisters had beautiful dresses and shoes, but Cinderella's dress was made of old rags. The stepsisters always ate the most delicious food, but Cinderella always ate scraps, and the stepsisters slept in their comfortable beds in their bedrooms, whereas Cinderella slept on a straw bed on the kitchen floor. The animals were Cinderella's only friends. In the evening, she sat beside the fireplace in the kitchen and told jokes to the family of mice who lived in the wall. She talked to the cat. Things will get better one day, she told the cat. Meow, the cat replied. One day, while Cinderella was in the garden picking pumpkins, a letter arrived at the house. It was an invitation to the king's summer ball. Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters were very excited. The prince will be there. He is so handsome. He is so rich. He needs a wife. The stepsisters spent weeks preparing for the ball. They bought new dresses, new shoes, and new handbags. On the day of the ball, Cinderella helped put on their dresses and do their hair. Oh, I have a wonderful idea, exclaimed the younger stepsister. Cinderella, come to the ball with us. It will be more fun if you are there. Oh, but you don't have anything to wear, laughed the older stepsister. You can't meet the prince wearing those dirty old clothes. What a shame. Maybe next time. Cinderella tried not to cry. She finished dressing her sisters, then went back down to the kitchen. She sat beside the fire and sighed. Things will be better one day, she told the cat. Meow, the cat replied. Just then, there was a flash of light, and an old woman appeared in the corner of the kitchen. Who are you? Stammered Cinderella. I am your fairy godmother, said the old woman. You are an orphan, and all orphans have a godmother. That means she hasn't got any parents. The fairy godmother stroked the cat. This cat tells me how kind you are and how you always wish for things to get better one day. Today is that day, Cinderella. You are going to the king's ball. Fetch me a pumpkin. Cinderella ran into the garden and picked a big orange pumpkin. The fairy godmother touched the pumpkin with her magic wand and it turned into a golden carriage. Come here, little mice, she said to the mice on the wall. She waved her wand again, and the mice turned into 6 beautiful horses to pull the carriage. But I don't have a dress, said Cinderella. Stand still, said the fairy godmother, and she waved her wand again, and Cinderella's dirty clothes turned into a spectacular silver dress. 2 beautiful glass shoes appeared on Cinderella's feet. Now go to the ball, said the fairy godmother, but you must be home by midnight. When the clock strikes 12, your dress will turn back into rags and your carriage will turn back into a pumpkin. And with another flash of light, the fairy godmother disappeared. I'm going to the ball, said Cinderella. Meow, said the cat. At the king's ball, the prince was very bored. He felt like he had danced with every young lady in the kingdom. All the ladies were wearing beautiful dresses, but none of the ladies were interesting. None of them understood his jokes. The prince had just finished dancing with one of Cinderella's stepsisters when the room suddenly fell silent. Everybody turned to look at the most beautiful girl. Everyone turned to look as the most beautiful girl walked through the door. She had long red hair and kind green eyes. Her dress was silver. Her shoes sparkled like they were made of glass. It was Cinderella, but nobody recognized her, not even her stepmother and stepsisters. The prince's mouth dropped open. He had never seen a woman as beautiful as Cinderella. He asked her to dance. They danced together all evening. The prince thought Cinderella was beautiful, but also kind, clever, and funny. Cinderella was having such a wonderful time that she didn't notice that it was so late. The clock began to chime midnight. Dong, dong, dong. Oh no, I have to leave, gasped Cinderella, and she ran out of the ballroom. Don't go, I don't even know your name, shouted the prince, but Cinderella was already gone. Cinderella fled from the palace so fast that she lost one of her glass shoes on the stairs. When she got to the bottom of the stairs, dong, the clock finished chiming midnight. Cinderella's beautiful dress turned back into rags, her golden carriage back into a pumpkin. Oh no, said Cinderella. Cinderella walked all the way home. 3 weeks passed. The prince couldn't sleep. He could not stop thinking about the beautiful girl at the ball. He waited for her to return to the palace, but she did not return. He waited for her to send a letter, but no letters came. Finally, in desperation, he gave the shoe to a trusted messenger and ordered him to visit every house in the kingdom. Find the girl this shoe belongs to and bring her to me. The messenger visited hundreds of houses. At every house, women claimed the glass shoe was theirs. But when they tried on the shoe, their feet were too big, or too wide, or too small. Finally, the messenger arrived at Cinderella's house. Cinderella's stepmother opened the door. Of course, come in. She led the messenger into the dining room where the 2 stepsisters were waiting. That's my shoe, the oldest sister said. But when she tried the shoe, her foot was too wide. The younger sister said, Silly sister, it's not your shoe, it's my shoe. But when she tried the shoe, her foot was too small. The stepmother even, said, Get out of the way, girls. It's not your shoe, it's my shoe. And she tried the shoe, but her foot was too long. Oh, how silly, said the stepmother. The shoe must have shrunk in the rain. But the messenger was not so easily fooled. Are there any other women in the house? He asked. No one but our serving girl, and that shoe is certainly not hers, said the stepmother. Fetch her immediately. Every woman in the kingdom must try the shoe, insisted the messenger. When Cinderella arrived in the dining room, she was wearing her usual rags and her face was covered in dirt. She put her dirty foot into the glass shoe and, amazing, it wasn't too wide, it wasn't too long. It fit perfectly. In a quiet voice, she said, It's my shoe. Please come with me, said the messenger. And before Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters could stop them, the messenger hurried Cinderella out of the door and into a carriage. Cinderella was taken to the palace to meet the prince. She was still wearing her dirty old dress. Her arms and legs and face were dirty. She looked at the floor because she felt so ashamed. The prince took Cinderella's hand. Miss, please look at me, he requested kindly. And when she lifted her head and he saw her kind green eyes, he knew that she was the girl he had fallen in love with at the ball. They were married the next spring and spent the rest of their lives laughing at each other's jokes. And that's the end. So that's our story, Cinderella. And I want you to try and remember our lovely story, The Rough-Faced Girl, as well, because these are your jobs for today. So if you're doing a 1 chili challenge, you are going to draw and label a picture of the rough-faced girl and Cinderella. So 1 page do rough-faced girl and 1 page do Cinderella. And you're going to think about what's the same about both of them, what happened to both of them, and what's similar about both of their stories. If you're doing a 2 chili challenge, there's a table that's on the next slide, and you're going to draw it into your book, and you're going to think about 3 things that are the same about the stories and 3 things that are different. And I'm going to show you that table now. So if you're a 2 chili challenge, this is what you're going to copy into your book. So you're going to need to pause it now. Remember, you're going to write 3 things that are the same and 3 things that are different. Okay. And if you are a 3 chili challenge, this is what you're going to be doing. You are going to be drawing this table into your book, okay? And you're going to compare between all of these things. So you're going to compare between the characters, the main girl character, so the rough-faced girl and Cinderella. What's the same about them? What's different? What's the same, what's different about the sisters and the parents and the rich male character? So in one of them, it was the invisible being, and in the other, it was a prince. What's the same about those? Then you're going to think about the setting of the story, so where it's set. So one of them we know is in a kingdom. It's where there's a king's in charge. The other one, though, is in Native America, where there's lots of huts and things like that. It's completely different. Think about what happens in the story, the plot of the story, and what's the moral of the story. That means what message is the story trying to show us. Okie dokie. Right then. That is your job for today. So if you want to pause me now. So that's our 3 chili. That's the 2 chili. And the 1 chili is to draw some pictures and tell me what's the same about both of them, please. Okay, give me a pause and get started, please, everyone. Right, how did everyone get on? I hope you enjoyed your job. we've just put this slide on. It says, if you enjoyed the Native American story, you may like to listen to read or listen to the suggested books. And there's lots of different Native American stories there, and they're set in quite a different setting to the ones that we're used to. So have a look at those online if you'd like to, or see if you've got any of them at home. Okay. Well, have a lovely weekend, everyone, because it's Friday and you've done a super job with your reading this week. So well done you, and I'll see you again next week. Take care. See you later.